latest update. Health Ministry in Gaza says 100 people killed and 286 wounded in Israeli attacks in Gaza in the past 24 hours. The death toll from Israeli attacks on Gaza nears 22,000, while more than 56,000 people have been injured. Maersk confirmed an attack this morning on its merchant vessel in the southern Red Sea, en route to Port Suez, Egypt. Israeli raids in the occupied West Bank have injured 15 people. Dozens of Israeli soldiers are suspected of being infected with leishmania, Israeli Maariv newspaper reports. Heavy Israeli bombardment from air, land and sea continued across most of the Gaza Strip, especially in the refugee camps in central Gaza. The spread of diseases in Gaza has reportedly intensified, particularly due to the recent mass displacements across the south. An air raid near the European hospital in Khan Yunis killed 5 people, the UN said, citing media reports. The UN is seeking authorization from Israel to import telecommunications equipment to create an independent communication system for humanitarian responders, as Israel continues to block telecommunications across the Gaza Strip. Israeli bombardment destroyed over 70% of Gaza homes. Israel's relentless bombardment of Gaza for nearly 3 months has destroyed 70% of the homes in the besieged Palestinian enclave, according to the government media office. An earlier report said more than 200 heritage and archaeological sites were destroyed in the Israeli bombardment, considered the most destructive in modern history. About 300,000 out of 439,000 homes have been destroyed in Israeli attacks, a Wall Street Journal report said. Analyzing satellite imagery, the report added that the 29,000 bombs dropped on the Strip have targeted residential areas, Byzantine churches, hospitals and shopping centres, and all civilian infrastructure has been damaged to an extent that they cannot be repaired. Historical landmarks in Gaza destroyed in Israeli attacks. Footage obtained by Al Jazeera shows massive destruction of historical landmarks in Gaza City as a result of continuous Israeli bombardment since October 7th. Among those affected is the El Samra Historical Bathhouse, also known as Hammam El Smara, on Omar al-Mukhtar Street in Gaza City, which now lies in ruins. El Samra was the last public bathhouse left in Gaza from the Ottoman era, built more than 800 years ago. Gaza's ancient Great Omari Mosque, tracing its roots to the pre-Islamic era atop an ancient Philistine temple site, has also been reduced to rubble. In the Daraj neighbourhood, Israeli air raids decimated Qasr al-Basha, or the Pasha's Palace, constructed during the Mamluk era in the 13th century. The building also housed a museum displaying artifacts spanning the Greek, Roman, Byzantine and Islamic eras. US support for Israel amid Gaza war unlikely to be unlimited. While the Biden administration continues to back Israel, ongoing support from the White House is unlikely to be unlimited as the US enters election season, analyst Adel Abdel Ghaffar said. Biden is deeply unpopular. Most polls indicate that he's losing support, especially with younger Democrat voters. Abdel Ghaffar, director of the Foreign Policy and Security Program at the Middle East Council on Global Affairs, told Al Jazeera, "This war will potentially impact his re-election, so we will see that as the US enters the new year, it will put more pressure on Israel to wrap up the war." On Friday, the US government, for a second time, bypassed Congress to greenlight an emergency weapons sale to Israel, despite growing international outrage over the war in Gaza. Fighting continues between Israeli forces and Hezbollah fighters. In the last 24 hours, Israeli jets have attacked the Lebanese towns of Bint Jbeil, Marwahin and Kfar Kela. Israeli drones targeted a car in the village of Yarun. Israeli artillery shelled the vicinities of many other Lebanese border towns. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for 4 attacks on Israel. Hezbollah said 1 fighter was killed in an airstrike on Bint Jbeil. An earlier statement by Hezbollah said 4 group members were killed in the Israeli attack. An Israeli air raid on Aleppo in Syria killed 3 people. Netanyahu says Gaza-Egypt border zone must be in our hands. As we reported earlier, Netanyahu has said that the border zone between the Gaza Strip and Egypt should be under Israel's control. Netanyahu made the comments at a news conference where he also promised to continue Israel's war on Gaza. The Philadelphia corridor, or to put it more correctly, the southern stoppage point of Gaza, must be in our hands. It must be shut. It is clear that any other arrangement would not ensure the demilitarization that we seek, he said.